Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Beneath Vancouver Radio. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big shout out as well to all of our listeners. At the time of this recording, episode number 63 of BVR, we actually just surpassed 3,000 listeners. So thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. There's been a lot of growth this last couple of months, especially in 2021 when it comes to the podcast, and hopefully we can kick off the year strong as well. And what a great way to, I guess, wrap up August again at the time of this recording with my special guest, Hedi from Pasta Padella. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How
A
are
little
you?
bit of a tongue twister today, or a little bit of a tongue twister
Yes.
for that one. But thank you so much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it. I know we've been kind of communicating amongst each other for a bit now, so I'm very happy
Yes.
to have you here and to share your story and to hear a little bit more about what you do and what business does. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Who are you today?
Hi, Erin. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. This is my first podcast. So my name is Hedi from Pasta Padella, and we're a family-run business here in Vancouver, and we specialize in pastas and risottos that are flash frozen in Italy, freshly made in Italy and then flash frozen, and then we bring them here to Vancouver. The idea of our business was really to just bring that Italian taste
Mm-hmm.
into Canada, just because we do have pasta here, of course, but nothing that's like actually freshly made in Italy with all Italian ingredients, and then come here to really give you that authentic flavor. Because again, the authenticity really comes from the fact that the ingredients are grown in that Italian climate.
For sure.
And again, and it's super fast to make. So you just open up a package and you put it into the pan with some oil and with a little bit of water. Some people like to do it even without water, but and it's ready in 10 minutes,
The
which is really great.
brave.
Yes, yes, exactly.
No, that's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, so who I am today, well, I guess, I didn't start off with entrepreneurship for sure. I don't even have a business background, really. I actually have
Neither do I.
okay, yeah, I
we
see
can,
based
I
on
can,
your
we can,
shirt,
we can. Yeah, oh, yeah, I just noticed actually, super casual here
kinesiology.
on the podcast. By the way, as well, I'm repping my alma
Awesome.
mater, but yeah, definitely don't
No,
have a
that's
business
great.
degree.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, I find that a lot of people that, yeah, do end up going into the whole entrepreneurship world, sometimes really just don't have any kind of business background, right? But both my parents have always been entrepreneurs, but
Hmm.
the whole goal for me was actually to go through sciences and go into dentistry. I did finish my health sci degree at SFU, but I ended up working in healthcare for 2 years. And in the end, this whole business enterprise came up with my parents. It's like their last enterprise that they're hoping to launch, right? So,
Hmm.
and I decided to take on the social media aspect of it. So, on the
Right.
side of work, all of last year, starting the fall, I took on the social media and really started to handle the influencers, right? So, or
Hmm.
connect with influencers online and just try to get our product out there.
For sure.
So yeah, but I guess connecting to who I am right now, I guess now I like to call myself an entrepreneur for sure, because I'm doing all the ins and outs of this business, just
Hmm.
because for right now, social media and e-commerce is the way to go,
Yeah.
if you're an online business, right? So initially, my parents' vision was quite different from mine, right? Maybe
Hmm.
for them, it was more so starting up some type of smaller fast food restaurant, but
Yeah.
the
Brick and
reality is that
mortar,
we pardon?
like a brick and mortar kind of thing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and they actually wanted to yeah, we started right before, or we got our first, inventory right before COVID
COVID.
started,
Mm.
so it was really bad timing for us, unfortunately, so we
Yeah.
had to actually shift, our approach and, the direction that we wanted to go into, so we started selling into certain deli stores across Greater
Mm.
Vancouver, and then around the fall is when I was like, "We need to just be selling online," so,
Yeah.
um yeah, so I guess right now, the whole dentistry plan went out the window for me.
Will there be a
Um,
return?
I don't think so. No,
Mm.
at this point, I'm actually very happy with the process. Again, you'll always hear if you research about, entrepreneurship and other entrepreneurs, that
Right.
you have to really enjoy the process.
Oh,
So
for
that is
sure.
something that I've just been learning about, and I have to say that right now, like I do love the process and the ups and downs of business as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole gist of entrepreneurship, right? And I think as well, you mentioned just the adaptability that comes with that, right? I mean, there's no blueprint, right? You can have as
Mhm.
much planning as you can. I think obviously this past year was a very big example of that and testament of that. Is no matter how much you plan and you set your goals, etc., you don't know what's going to happen, and things that might happen are out of your control, right? I mean, we're still
Exactly.
unfortunately dealing with it even to this day, right? So I think that's what entrepreneurship is all about, is finding the ways to adapt. In this case, obviously, a lot of small businesses in general, had to make the shift from storefront to actually online. And for people who might not be familiar with that concept of e-commerce, online influencers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's a brand new world for them, right? And so that's the importance of I guess also being aware of kind of what's possible and what can you actually do with the cards that you're given.
Mhm.
So I'm happy to hear that obviously that shift has happened, and I'm sure obviously as well there's a bit of sadness, I guess, for the lack of obviously physical storefront and restaurants and brick and mortar. But
Yes.
this is the future, whether you like it or not. This is
It's
going
so
to be
true.
kind of what it's going to look like, and even post pandemic, whatever that might look like, or whenever that might happen. That's essentially going to be the way it goes, right? So many people are so accustomed to Amazon, online shopping, online this, online that, brick and
Exactly.
mortars. Obviously, I think for restaurants, it's still going to be very prominent. Obviously, people still want to go and sit down and stuff like that. But opening up a brand new space of just online e-com is going to be very interesting for the next, I would say, even 5 to 10 years. How that space can kind of continues to evolve. So,
Exactly, exactly. So,
um,
yeah, I mean, we have also like an added layer of complexity because we're a frozen food item, right?
mhm.
So now it becomes a lot more challenging as well. So
Yeah.
for anyone thinking about, whether you should go into the frozen food business, I
I've seen Shark
highly
Tank, and they say it's the hardest one to go.
I say do your research and make sure you don't go into it unless you have a bunch of money to spend because
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is
yeah,
so expensive and there are times that I really hit my lows as well just because you
for
feel so
sure.
desperate like you don't know how to really handle the fact that again it is frozen food and it's very temperature sensitive and
Mhm.
in particular our items are very temperature sensitive because um, the way that they're flash frozen is actually through individually quick frozen, which means that the pasta is individually frozen and it's actually
Oh,
not a
wow.
block of ice, right? So,
Yeah.
for example, like a steak that is fully frozen throughout can last longer with one dry ice, for example, for many hours versus our pasta requires one dry ice per pasta pack, and
Mhm.
it becomes very complicated in terms of delivery and shipment and whatnot. So, but yeah, I guess like you said, it's really important to be able to adapt and be able to just be open minded, I guess, around the different shifts that happen and to be really creative with it. So for us, for example, being environmental is also very important. So we're trying to find some kind of packaging solution that allows us to like not use plastics or styrofoams, even
Mhm.
if our products are frozen, right? So
Right.
right now we're trying to figure out a delivery or shipment packaging for across Canada, and it's been quite challenging to do that because most of the solutions are with plastics and styrofoam, and we don't want to go with that. So,
For sure.
um, yeah, it just takes time. So again,
And that's the process that you mentioned earlier, right? Finding those kind of ins and outs and different ways to do this, different ways to do that. And obviously in this case, there's ways to save money or save or be eco-friendly and stuff like that. I think that's obviously important. And that's what I think, again, as I mentioned, I'm going to keep going back to this because I feel like almost this is sort of the topic of this conversation, but like that's entrepreneurship. Is there's different ways to do maybe one thing, but certain ways might be more efficient, certain ways might be less costly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I could
exactly.
record a podcast 10 million different ways, but there's only certain ways that's going to help me make my quality better, make the listeners who are tuning in right now, their quality better, their experience better. We've definitely come a long way from the very first episode 1. I still remember that. Oh gosh, very questionable.
We all got
Still,
to start somewhere. That's
so
amazing, though.
that's still on the internet. That's what scares me, right? And I'll probably live there forever. So,
Well,
I
this is
mean,
my first one. Is always going to be on the internet, so I'm stressing about that. But yeah.
you're good. You're good. But no, yeah, that's what it boils down to. So I was actually curious as well to, like you said, kind of shifting gears here. You mentioned obviously it's a family business and everything like that, and your parents have started it and are building it, and you guys are doing it together. Was that sort of like always something that they've had in mind, or can you maybe share just a little bit more about, why? Well, you mentioned at the beginning, obviously, you wanted to bring some Italian flavors and Italian authenticity to Vancouver to Canada.
Mhm.
But has that always been? I'm assuming you're Italian or Italian
Right, we're
descent.
actually yeah, we're of Persian heritage, but, I grew
Okay,
up in Italy. My parents have been there for more than 40 years.
there
They
you go.
they actually did, yeah, their schooling there, they met there, got married there, everything. So, yeah, so being Italian is definitely at our heart. We're also equally Persian, of course,
Of course, yeah.
but, I've never been to Iran, and I've lived, in Italy for many years. So,
Gotcha.
um, yeah, so pretty much it was a long process because they started this idea maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and then, this was before they launched. Sorry, maybe 5 years ago now, so before they launched,
Hmm.
um and the whole point was because I mean, I don't know, for our family, for example, cooking, my dad actually does all the cooking in our house, so, like, my mom and I don't do too much of the cooking, and we wanted to bring something that was, like, healthy, but, like, a fast meal that can be brought here, and again, bring that Italian taste,
Right.
because we missed Italian food a lot, moving back to Canada.
Yeah, I've been there
We
once, and yeah, I can attest it's a
Right,
completely different level. I like to pasta here
exactly.
to pasta over there, or even other things as well, not just the pasta.
Right, and Italians are very patriotic, right?
Yeah.
So and one of the reasons because their food is so good,
Yeah,
like, they don't wanna be
exactly.
leaving Italy, right? And when they come to other countries, they come here, they're like,
It's
"I
like
just
this
miss
isn't
home
good.
so badly." Yeah. So we wanted to bring, yeah, that flavor again here and just the healthiness because in Italy, for the most part, all of the food is very traditionally, cultivated, and
Hmm.
GMO isn't really a part of the agriculture in Italy as it is here in North America. Like it's very like I think we've become more accustomed to GMO. We try to find GMO free foods and all that. In Italy, really the food isn't contaminated with these things.
Right.
So by default, even when someone who is gluten free, for example, goes to Italy and or sorry, can usually not consume breads or pastas that aren't gluten free. When they go to Italy and they try to have a cheat day, they realize that they actually don't have that kind of bloating that maybe that they would get here or
Hmm.
that fogginess usually that comes
Right.
with gluten. So it's very interesting that I believe that like gluten is also a way that our food has been genetically modified over time, and then these allergies are also created. And obviously, I don't have a degree in, I'm not a dietitian or anything, but in terms of it's interesting how the foods there that usually people would be allergic to does not affect them, right?
Hmm.
So that testifies to like the
Quality.
naturalness
Yeah.
and the quality of the food. So we wanted to really bring that quality here. And again, the best way to do that is to literally bring the
Bring it
food that
over
is made
here.
from Italy. So, and that's why having it frozen was the best way for us to do it. Our sauces also come in little cubes. It's within the package already,
Oh, I
and
see.
so they're really made how nonna used to make it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just very authentic and the traditional types of ingredients of the different regions of Italy. So we have 10 different items, and each one is a very unique type of taste. And my personal favorite is the pasta with tomato. I used
That's
to
I was gonna
love,
ask you. Yeah. What's your favorite?
yeah, the pasta with tomato is my favorite. A tomato and pepper. The other one that I also really like is the pasta with eggplant. For people who do love eggplant, but also for those who don't like eggplant, there aren't any like big chunks where it's like usually people who don't like eggplant, it's like the consistency.
Yeah.
It's not like
Exactly.
that. It's very cheesy. It's very delicious. So,
That's good.
um, but all of them are quite good. It's hard to really pick and
It's to pick a
choose.
favorite. Exactly. And
Exactly.
how's working with family? I mean, I've always, heard
Right.
mixed reviews, don't work with, siblings, don't work with family. But how's
It
that been? Obviously, it's, you see them every day, and I'm sure, that's probably
exactly.
a good thing.
Exactly. We're very close. So I don't have any siblings, so I'm very close
Mm,
with my parents. It definitely has its ups and downs, but I think over time we've learned to like communicate with one another. I think what's really important is again just learning how to communicate and growing
right.
together, and to not be hard headed on certain things, right?
For sure.
So that to be flexible again. So it's been fine. it definitely had its challenges, but we're learning to grow. And as I've been like working on it more hands on, they've also
Mm-hmm.
gained more confidence in the work that I'm able to do. Right. So therefore,
Yeah.
I'm given more independence to make certain decisions and whatnot. And in
They
the
get to
end,
see
I
your
am
growth too, right?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And in the end, I am here to support. So, and I really just see it also just as it is their baby, it's also my baby, and we're trying to like move this thing forward for sure.
Yeah. And how's that been? Obviously you mentioned at the beginning, pre-COVID is when you got your first shipment, your first kind of batch of inventory, so to speak. And your parents envisioned, a restaurant, storefront. We've been in this pandemic for, looking at the date, I don't even know anymore. It feels like forever,
Yeah,
but 16 months? No, almost 18 months.
right. Yeah, over a
Roughly,
year. Yeah.
yeah, around eight, a year and a half to a little
A
bit
year and a
over
half,
that now.
exactly.
So how, as besides obviously the transition to e-commerce, online, more focus, how has that been now for the last, I would say, maybe let's go with the last 6 months, now that we pretty much have been in pandemic for more than a year? What's kind of the
Right.
focus now, or how's that transition, not even transition at this point anymore, what's kind of the flow now for the next year, two
Mhm.
years, 3 years, moving into 2025, let's say?
Right. So, well, I guess just to backtrack a little bit, I mean, with COVID, of course, and the fact that we launched a month before COVID really happened and things shut down, it was very difficult for us to be able to go through our inventory. Also, just
Hmm.
because we're technically wholesalers, so the idea was to go into wholesale, because also nothing like our product exists on the market at the moment in North America, or at least in Canada here. So the hopes were definitely high. And then I guess before, so December of 2020, so last December, it reached a point where, I mean, I was taking on the social media stuff. There was more traction online. We were getting online sales, which was great, and I was just delivering myself.
Hmm.
But then it reached a point where we were like, okay, well, we need to get through this inventory. At this point, I was like, we need to pray for a miracle. So that's literally what we did. I kid you not. And that is, I mean, to really, I mean, put it out there to, whether it's like God or the universe, but like to really, first of all, believe that like assistance comes in moments of need. That's the other
Hmm.
thing. So we were in that place. Our family was in that place, and it was very, very challenging. Um, and on New Year's Eve, I put out a coupon
Oh, I remember.
that
Yeah.
yeah, so I put out a coupon online because I really needed to get through this inventory. I was like, or else this is going to go to waste, right?
Hmm.
At towards halfway through this year. So I put out this coupon, and it was a very, very generous coupon. It was out of desperation again, as a small business, we just had to. And somehow it went viral online. I guess
Hmm.
just from people sharing it and whatnot, and the influencers sharing it on their social media. And again, people knowing us being a family business and us just be able to create that one-on-one connection. I
Right.
guess people liked us, right? So they wanted to put it out there, and it really picked up out of the blue, like out of nowhere. So I had it open for 2 weeks, and it was just immense the amount of orders that came through, and it became very challenging for us to actually be able to handle delivery.
Hmm.
um
Yeah, because you were doing it
so
yourself, so.
exactly. And we encountered many challenges, and I won't go into the details of it, of course, again,
Yeah.
because we have a frozen fruit item. Thankfully, it was in the middle of winter, so the weather was also
There's
working in an
cooperating,
advantage,
yeah, cooperating with
right?
you.
Yeah, but pretty much that. I mean, right now when you look at our reviews online, a lot of them are from that time when delivery was like there were really big delays.
Hmm.
But again, I'm so grateful for all of those people that got a chance to like order from us, and because they were a lifesaver for us, really. So for myself and for my parents, but just to kind of come out of the I guess the messiness of it and see the larger picture, and that there's a reason why all these different things happen, and to see the lesson behind it, really, to have patience. I think that is
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah, well,
But
big kudos to you, and they're obviously your family as well, to of handling that as best as you can. I can only imagine, you go from, steady flow of orders, and then you put out this coupon hoping for the best, and then all of a sudden, you're hit with
right. Yes,
literally orders on orders on orders on orders, right? And you unfortunately don't have the infrastructure to deal with that, or even expect that, right? So
exactly.
I think in general, I'm hopeful as well that, from those people that ordered, they're also understanding that at the end of the day, that was almost like, you handling everything, orders, delivery,
Right.
customer service, 3 different departments handled by one person who's also got a bajillion other stuff going on, 2 other
Right.
jobs. So,
It was I had to yeah, I mean, thankfully, I had also a very understanding manager. I took time off from my
right. I
day
mean, yeah, you
job
have
to
to at
be
that
able to
point.
do this,
Yeah.
right? So, but again, I'm so if any of those people are ever gonna listen
Yeah.
to this,
There's,
like, I'm
hey,
so
you
thankful.
never know. Yeah. Those people might be tuning in. So,
Yes, I'm so thankful for them, and, and again, thanks them so much for their patience at the time, but it was definitely a huge roller coaster for us to be able to handle this,
right.
and then because yeah, the delays were very long, and I'm proud to say that we had like only like a 1% return rate, right, or cancellation rate,
That's
which was
pretty
like
good.
really amazing
Yeah.
in those kinds of circumstances, because people were excited to try the product. So in fact,
Right.
when you see our reviews online,
Do you know
all of
how?
it is. Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that all of it is just like a delivery issue, and people actually do like the product, right?
Hmm.
So, sorry, but continue.
No, I was just gonna ask you. I'm sorry to cut you off. I was just
Oh,
gonna
good.
ask you. You said it went viral. Do you know exactly how? Like, it was just like a. Did someone? Was it put on like a Facebook group? Was it put like on a?
Yeah,
I'm curious because it was just a coupon, so I'm assuming it was just like a post or something on your socials that you put.
right. So on social media, I think I had handled probably like I don't know how many influencers, but like, many influencers.
Yeah,
So
a
they all
few.
started posting on
Hmm.
their social media, like on stories, and
Oh,
then
I
we would
see.
repost and whatnot. But then I think someone, I don't know who, whether this person was an influencer or not, someone posted on some kind of deals website,
Oh, red
which
flag
is
deals, maybe.
why, yeah, which is why it ended up going viral. So,
Okay.
um,
Because yeah, you did
yeah,
say that it was rather generous, so maybe yeah, that was also very
yes, exactly, and
well,
again, the
regardless.
generosity of it,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, was not a reflection of the quality of our product, like,
I
our
was gonna
qual
say
it
yeah.
was because it was
Needed to
because
get out of this, get this inventory out ASAP.
yeah, yeah, exactly, so, but again, so yeah, it fulfilled its purpose for that
Yeah.
time, and then what happened was that after that whole situation, of course, things slowed down for us, right?
Hmm.
Because we still need to create a presence online for us through our website, with people, with other, I guess, other customers.
Right.
And then the other issue that we encountered was that we weren't able to receive our next inventory
Mm.
because of shipment delays.
Of
So
course. Yeah.
I don't know if it was related to the whole Suez Canal thing, but apparently it is because
Oh
it goes
no.
around that way. But like literally, and also just because of COVID in general, we had delays for 4 months of
Hmm.
not being able to sell anything. So
Mm.
that's a huge it
Damper.
was a huge, yeah, exactly, it was very heartbreaking. So during that time, we're just trying to organize things on our end. I was still doing my own full time job, right? So I didn't actually quit my job until this last June.
Mm.
And then our new inventory arrived literally about 3 weeks ago now. So we've
Okay.
just been working hard at it now. But yeah, so it's been yeah, there's been a lot that has been going on
Yeah.
for us. So we're just now it's kind of like we're picking up again, right?
Hmm.
So, but we're
Well,
not
I'm
going to
happy
give
to
up.
hear.
Yeah, no,
I,
we're thank you. We're really excited to like be able to get this product moving forward. It's very good and the response has been very good, but it's a matter of like finding the right clientele for sure.
yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully as well. This podcast gives you even more of a bounce and a more of an influx. And again, if people are tuning in, and I'm sure there's pasta lovers here, especially if it's going to be, coming from Italy. So the home of
Yes.
pasta. So I'm sure there's people out here who would be very, very interested in trying out your product. So again, I'll make sure to put that all in the description and everything, but we'll get to that later.
Thank you.
Well, can we expect a coupon in December? Is that too early to tell?
But yeah, so and things have been going well. Like it's steady at this point. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Well, we'll keep an eye out for sure. What's been kind of like, I guess, you've mentioned, and I think this has been a great episode so far. You mentioned a lot of the obstacles and the hardships that have come with, really building the business with yourself and your family along the way. What to you personally, what's been kind of the most rewarding part about it? I don't want to talk about the hardships. I feel
Mhm.
like we've talked a lot about
Right.
that. I want to talk
Yeah.
about the positive stuff. What makes you smile, or what's rewarding for you when it comes to, this business. Yeah, no, I agree. Those are all things that I think as well, like throughout the podcast, in the episodes that we've had so far, that seems to be a similar concept or a reoccurring discussion point where
Mhm.
it's a lot of people, especially again in a very social media centric world, you see a lot of the highs, right? A lot of the wins, a lot of the highlights in life, on Instagram. I guess more Instagram now really than ever, than just really like, I guess what would be popular like TikTok. That's not really that style, but on
Mhm.
Instagram you see, again, as I said earlier, all the highlights and everything that's good, but they don't really see all the work. It's almost like that. I guess poster or painting, or I don't even know. It's like an iceberg, and it's the tip of the iceberg, but like below underwater, it's like everything else that has helped push that iceberg to the very tip that actually
Exactly.
has gone it above the threshold, right? So that's really, again, as we boil down here, that's again what entrepreneurship is about, right? And for a lot of people, it doesn't even have to be something as big, like as a potentially like a business. It can be even like a small idea, right? If you're a
Oh,
small,
yeah.
selling your paintings on Etsy or online or whatever, right? Like your first painting and the trials and tribulations of getting that all started and set up is going to be a lot different than on the your 500th sold piece of art. So same
Mhm.
with the podcast, same with photography, videography, any really creative art or anything along those lines. I think that's what it boils down to, is being able to work your way up and be able to as well look back when you are at that high, or when you reach those high points, look back and say like, wow, I've come so far, right? I've climbed so many rings of this ladder. So
Absolutely.
that's what it boils down to. So I'm happy to hear that as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we all just want to move forward, right? Especially now where it's still, as I said earlier, still unfortunately during dire times. So
Mhm.
as long as we can push forward, and as even better as a community as well. One of the main reasons why we have this podcast and why we are 63 episodes in is because people seem to be interested in either seeing
Of
myself or
course.
hearing me talk. So no, I'm kidding. That's obviously all the guests, and they're the only reason why I'm still running the show. So
No,
I'm
thank you
still
so much
hoping
for
to
having
this.
this space.
Yeah, no worries. It's always been a space to share stories, to be open, to be vulnerable, and people. This is what people want to hear, right? They don't want to see the fancy cars or whatever the case might be with all
Right,
those
I
things.
yeah.
No, go
I
for it.
was
Did you
gonna
want?
say, yeah, just in terms of that, because, I mean, I think it's just such um, a skewed
Unrealistic.
yeah, it's a skewed, honestly, understanding of what entrepreneurship is. It's
Yeah.
really not that, because I think in the end, in terms of what you were saying about, these dire moments as well, the fact that people have been, there's been a lot of challenges with mental health and
Hmm.
whatnot because of COVID and like the isolation, etc. And I just think that when I think of business, it's like, again, this whole concept of enjoying the process, because if I'm not able to learn to be happy right now in this moment through these struggles, that even when I do reach the point where my business is self-sufficient and it's like, bringing in the amount that I was always hoping for, I won't be able to actually enjoy it if I'm not even
Yeah.
happy in this moment right now. So that's something that I've been thinking about a lot. So I'm like, I wake up every morning just reminding myself. And also, I really do like enjoy the process and the struggle of it, and knowing that that is what actually gives me energy, because it's like, solving a puzzle, like
Hmm.
coming up with new solutions. And again, if I can't be happy in this moment, I'm just thinking about like the final stage of it, right? Then I'm always just going to upgrade my goal, right? So like once you end up having a successful business, you're like, okay, well, what's the next thing that's going to
Hmm.
drive me? And I don't want to be living in that kind of thought process of
Yeah.
just always living for the more, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not about having more. It's really just about being able to enjoy what I have right now, but also making it better and better. And also, you know, for me, entrepreneurship should always be you're trying to bring a solution to the world for
Hmm.
something, right? It can't just be we're selling something and uh, we want to just like make money off of it, right? It really comes down to, are you fulfilling a need, like humanity's need? And
Hmm.
if the answer is yes, and then that's great. And to do it with honesty and to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully we're fulfilling a space. I mean, I've been doing this for over 3 years now, and realistically only the last, I would say, a year and a bit have I taken it quote unquote seriously, if you will. It's always
Hmm.
been a brand of, obviously, or a branch, I should say, of the Beneath Vancouver brand. But obviously when COVID hit, we weren't able to do the photo and video work that we usually did with local restaurants and businesses. So the podcast has been kind of like the continuation of that, right? And being able to, go back at it. And I remember in like March of last year, I was like, should I just call it quits now? Like, it was a good run. And I was like, well, I have the podcast, I can still do that, safely, in the
Right.
comfort of my own home. Obviously, making sure that at that time it was pretty much full on quarantine. No one was leaving the house at all. So the podcast was really the only thing I could continue, the Beneath Vancouver name, so to speak. So, here we are, a year and a bit later, and I still have yet to see a podcast. And again, if there are, please send them my way, because I would love to chat with those people. But I've yet to still see a podcast that is similar in the concept of what we have here with this particular show, and
Mhm.
at least that have done it in a consistent manner, right? I've been in the space again for 3 years, and by no means do I own this kind of niche or anything like that, right?
No, but
But
you started it, right? So that's
that's
great.
exactly. So that's something as well that I'm really happy for. And there's always going to be people to chat with, that for sure will never run out of, in terms of that. So episode 60, episode 150, episode 300, who knows, right? How long this will go, but
Yeah.
it all comes from the heart. I really enjoy chatting with everyone and everyone that I've had on this show. So as long as there's an internet connection, I have my microphone and a laptop, I feel like I can pretty much take this anywhere. So I'm excited to see
Yeah, which
where it takes me. Hopefully,
that's the
some
best.
in-person episodes soon, though. Those would be ideal. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Unfortunately, we are nearing the end of our episode now, Hedi. So, I would like to
Yeah,
ask
that's
you the
great.
finale, here, as again for our listeners who know and who are regulars, they know what's coming up here. But you might have mentioned it a couple of times already throughout your answers of the questions that we've asked, or not really the questions, really the conversation. I think I've only asked 2 or 3 questions outside of the
Right.
first one. So that's again the
Do I
beauty of
talk
this
too much? Is
podcast.
that what it is?
No, 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 no. That's the beauty of this podcast. It's all natural conversation. It's all natural flowing. It's very off scripted here, but the only thing that are scripted is the first and last question. And the last question that I have for you for the show, for the episode, is what piece of advice would you give to your younger self, and why?
Um, I would say to just be more confident in my own abilities, to not
Mm.
doubt myself, but I
Hmm.
think that just comes with age in
Yeah.
general. But like, one thing is to be humble and then the other is to like diminish your capacities, right? So
Right.
to be able to actually live them and to be able to confidently bring them forward with no arrogance, of course, but
Hmm.
to have trust in yourself. And also, I guess the other thing is, I don't know, would I have done my science degree if I listened to myself more? I probably not, like so I that's something that I was thinking about, but I'm very happy to have my science degree, but I think it's really about I think, people always talk down on this or like, oh, in terms of having, mixing your I mean, to be passionate about what you do and have it to make, good money for yourself is
Yeah.
like this utopia. But I
Yeah.
really think, as you grow older, everyone ends up gravitating towards what actually brings them joy, and then they're able to actually make a living off of that. And I really think that you have to be happy in what you're doing, and to actually align yourself with that energy, you by nature attract all the right circumstances for you to be able to actually do what makes you happy and make
Hmm.
money off of it. So
Hmm.
right now, with Pasta Padella, I feel like I'm much more closer to that than with what I was with my science degree and with my plan with going into dentistry. Like, thank God I'm not going into dentistry, kind of a thing, right? So, again, it's to kind of listen to your gut and to trust yourself and to not try to follow status quo. Like, especially in sciences, everyone's
Yeah.
like, med, dentistry, like, and if you don't do it, if you're not good enough, it's like it affects your self esteem. And to really just ignore that, like, as in, everyone is a unique
Everyone's different.
individual.
Yeah. I can
Yeah,
relate to
but
that. Everyone was gunning for
yeah,
PT, OT, some med students
right.
as well for when I was in, my kin cohort. And, there's little old me like, is anyone interested in marketing? Like,
Yeah.
hello. Right.
Yeah,
So,
that's so
and
good.
business and entrepreneurship and all these different kind of topics that, being a kin student, you're probably not interested in. But it's funny now, I think, I won't go too far off tangent. I know I said we're kind of wrapping up the episode, but
No, no,
it's
yeah.
funny that I think of it now, and from what I've seen, and I think this is also kind of aligns with what's happened due to COVID. A lot of small businesses online primarily have started. A lot of people, finding their passion projects and turning it into a side of either be side income or even full time for some people, right?
Mhm.
I think now more than ever, in my opinion, at least, like some capacity of of business should be taught to students, right? Whether
Right.
that's in high school or even like everyone should take like some sort of generic, or not generic, sorry, like a general business course, because in reality, like there's so many different ways now, obviously in 2021, and I'm sure in the near future, to make money, that it's not no longer, as you mentioned, the status quo of, getting your degree and, going that route. Obviously that's still a very viable option. I'm not,
Mhm.
putting that down by any means. Look at myself. I went to UBC, 5 years of, or well, I guess technically only three because I was a transfer student, but 3 years of kin. And now my full-time thing is, doing digital marketing, right?
Mhm.
And on the side, the podcast and my other ventures. So would I have learned that in school? Probably not. The only way that I learned that was actually putting myself out there and exposing myself to the unknown and networking and doing things that, I learned just secondhand, but obviously might have been to expedite that process if I took like, just a very basic beginner general business course of, how do I
Mhm.
sell this? How do I sell that? The basics of a profit and loss statement, actually
Right.
tracking where your money is going,
How
all
to do
these
your
things,
taxes. I don't
taxes and stuff
know.
like that. Again, this is a different conversation. I won't go on a side tangent too much, but that's just something that kind of what I've seen, at least again in the last year and a half that we've been going on through this pandemic. I think it's become more prominent now that the opportunity for business is literally
Absolutely.
everywhere, like everywhere.
Absolutely. And entrepreneurs are creators, right? So
Yeah.
to have the power to create is just it's so beautiful and it's just so exciting. But again, it's really, really
Yes,
hard.
it is not easy.
It
You
is
know.
not easy. That is the only thing that I'll say. But to launch yourself, if that is what you're interested in, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't be easy though. All good things in life shouldn't be easy, and we'll wrap it off like that. Do you have any? You have now around 60 seconds, not actually, but I always like to say that. Just feel free to do
For
any
sure.
shout outs, any plugs, anything like that, anything
Yeah.
to let the people
Well, just
know where to find you.
yeah, for sure. I mean, please give us a follow on our Instagram at
Yes.
Pasta Padella. We definitely follow back. And shout out to my digital marketer now, Shante, one of my good friends. So she's been doing phenomenal with the videos that we have. We're also on TikTok, by the way. So our videos are doing pretty well. But yeah, just I guess you could subscribe to our email as well in case you want any coupons. I think down the line we will probably be offering those. But yeah, I guess
Excellent.
try
Yeah.
our pasta.
For sure. I'll put all down, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, I'll put that all that ugh. I'll put all that information. It's been a long day. I'll put all that information at the bottom. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, in the description down below, or if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, it'll be in the podcast description as well. And if you are watching on YouTube, which hopefully you are, because I know you want to see my beautiful face, not really, but make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. It helps out a lot. Other than that, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, Hedi, for coming out.
Thank you
Um,
so much for having me.
yeah,
This was
that's
super
been
awesome.
it's been another great episode. I think we've definitely talked a lot. And again, for a first time podcast, you did a phenomenal job. Don't sweat it. I'm sure the
Okay.
listeners loved it as well. Thank you again, everyone. This was episode number 63 for Beneath Vancouver Radio. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.